Okay, hey everyone. It's just another video on this Cutlass because it needed some servicing and stuff, and also, of course, to the owner of this Cutlass, who it will be going to soon. It's just to say, there's a lot of physics involved in setting up a base, of course, and the physics it's nothing that difficult to really understand. Um, But this thing, I'm pleased to report, has now got a very nice 1.5mm action, and despite the permanent neck bow, once I put a shim in and changed the trajectory, it improved things a great deal. So now we've got this lovely smooth action, and I think you may even not need to do anything further. So, yeah. Yeah, it feels just, it feels just as good as anything else now. Whereas yesterday its action was like, 3mm and higher. So, what I noticed, let's just talk about the what had to happen at this end of the neck. What I noticed is that the trajectory was actually quite bad. Usually you shouldn't have like a huge discrepancy between the top fret and the 12th fret. Of course, the top fret is usually a bit higher, the action is usually a bit higher at the top fret, but on bases that I have here, the Japanese made ones, high-end stuff like Dragonfly and Atelier Z, it's usually a minuscule amount, because it's so precisely done to ensure that you can get the lowest action possible without the strings bumming out, right? So what I did was I measured it and found that this was actually over 1mm higher. The action was over 1mm higher at the top fret than it was at the 12th fret. So that means that in theory, I can put a shim, which is about 1mm thick, in the neck, and it's going to resolve things. Actually, the shim I put in here is about 0.8 of a millimeter, and it's working beautifully. So that's really good. But then, even though the action was fixed, the tension or the pressure that you have to put down here was a little bit too much because the nut wasn't really cut deep enough. So, like I said, just cutting the nut a tiny bit deeper, the fractions of a millimeter make a huge difference in the engineering of a guitar. So this is now, I've taken it down by about half a millimeter. So now the strings are just a tiny bit closer, like to the first fret. So now it's much more comfortable to play the first, second, third fret. Before it felt quite tight, and a little bit of strain was needed to play those notes, which is not what you want on a bass which is $3,000, right? So anyway, so that's done, and that feels much better. And then we had the issue with the 7th fret, which was lifting. Fortunately, I didn't have to file it or anything. So because the fret was lifting, I was able to use a press, and it seems to be fine. It seems to be staying in place now. I'm going to leave it overnight and just see how it is tomorrow. And then hopefully, if it's still good tomorrow, then I think we're good to ship it out to you. But there you go. I mean, that's the news. It's great news. your bass plays just as well as most of the stuff I let out of my shop here, and it's cleaned up pretty nicely. There you go. And for those of you who are watching, I'm making this public as a public video, um, because I want you to know what I do. You know, when you use my Bass Hunter service, which again is linked, you don't just I don't just procure the bass for you, and then simply pack it up and ship it. I check everything, and I make a diagnostic, and I suggest what needs to be done to it. So in this case, it seemed like a hell of a lot of work needed doing, and it seemed like that this neck would need to be treated, retrained in some way. But now I think it is permanently bowed, but it's like a small amount of relief. It's like moderate relief. And now that it's at a better trajectory, thanks to the shim, and thanks to the to slightly lowering the strings in the nut, it actually plays just great. And because it's a graphite neck, I don't think it's going to be moving or bowing anymore. I think it's been like this for years. It's not going to change. So it should be good for, it should be good. I mean, it should be good for a long time. I don't think you'll have to have anything done to it. So anyway, you can see when it arrives with you, see what you think. You might want to get it looked over, and have the neck overhauled again. But I think it's great, feels great. So I'm very happy that this worked out so well, and I hope you will enjoy your bass when it arrives with you. So thanks everyone for watching. That'll be it for now. That was just to show you a little bit more detail about what I do, and that I'm not just a guy who packs and ships basses. I also work on them, you know, and I work with you, the customer, as well, to make things go as smoothly as possible. So cheers, and see you again.